I am a center of creation. I am a seed planted in stillness. The next verse is I am a tree, and then I am complete, rooted in living in wholeness. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm trying to do something fancy here, okay? Okay, let's get back to that. Well, now this technology took me somewhere to another planet that I don't even. So we're gonna have to just do the drums in your own spirit, okay?
Center of creation, I am a seed planted in stillness. I am a center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. I am a center of creation. I am a tree rooted in fullness. I am a center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. I am a center of creation. I am a tree rooted in fullness. I am a center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. I am a center of creation. I am complete, living in wholeness. I am a center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. I am a center of creation. I am complete, living in wholeness. I am a center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. Fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God.
Yes. Highest thoughts.
Good morning, everybody. Lovely to see you here. Thank you for being here this morning. First, let's give a round of applause for Lauren and Alexa. Woohoo! Thank you so much. Thank you. I'd like to welcome newcomers here today. Are there any people here for the first time? Just put your hand up so we can stare you out. So, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And, I used to study at Agape, which is in LA, and run by Reverend Michael Beckwith. And we had a lovely thing that we did at Agape. So we all turned towards the new person and put our hands out and blessed them. Let's do that. So we bless you. We welcome you.
We welcome you.
And we're grateful that you're here.
We're grateful that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'd like to also give thanks for my colleague, Kim Bibot. She's our practitioner on duty this morning, pulpit practitioner. She's going to do the opening prayer, opening invocation, and also light our peace candle and give us a reading. And practitioner Carol Wythe, she ran a beautiful meditation for us earlier this morning, and she'll be doing the high watch, and that means that she's going to be sitting in prayer for the whole time that we're in this service. She's going to be praying for each one of you and knowing that each one of you is receiving exactly what you need in this service. Thank you, Carol. Okay, so now I'm going to invite Kim up to the podium to do our peace candle lighting, our reading, and our invocation. Thank you, Kim.
That's much better. Thank you. Good morning. Oh, I love this thing. Well, it's going, but it's not. Which probably means it might be empty. Okay, great. I can smell the gas. Well, matches would be so much easier. Okay. We're going to pretend this candle lights just is bright and shining, and it lights the peace candle. I lit the peace candle to represent the light within each of us, the light of oneness, the light of divine oneness, the Christ consciousness that resides in us all. Knowing as I light this flame of peace, we all allow ourselves to feel God's peace and love so deeply in our hearts that we might send that peace out into the world and join it with love for the world. And in a brief moment of silence, let us know the love in our hearts, and that as that love grows, it goes out to all. And so it is. I don't have to stand in front of this thing. Wonderful. Okay. And if you'll join me, taking a deep breath, allowing yourself to just let go of all that has come before, knowing that in this place, in this moment, in this presence of each other, of God, of Spirit, that we are never separate. We are one, and we are one in and of and through God. God is all-seeing. God is that oneness, that power, that peaceful power that is within. God is always present and always seeing all. God is the beauty, the love, and knowing that this time and this place is where God lives at this moment, because God is always around, always within. And we know for this moment, in this time, that all that is spoken, all that is sung, all that is prayed about is God. We know that Reverend Stephanie will speak in this moment. Our hearts will hear what she has to say. The music will enliven us. And those who are watching this will see the love, will hear the love, will feel the love, even though they're watching on their televisions or their computers. I am so grateful for this time, and I bless all that there is, and so it is. I'm going to do this a little teeny out of order, or not. Actually, I am, because somebody brought me a lighter, so I'm going to light the Pete's candle. We wouldn't want that to not be the case. Well, maybe I'm going to light the peace candle. I'm not. Okay. We're just going to move through this in this wonderful way that we have, because this is Science of Mind. And we're all here to have a little bit of laugh amongst all the other things that we do. But if you'll take a moment and just hear these words from Ernest Holmes. Getting ready to know, to hear what Reverend Stephanie has to say about impart, imbue, about curiosity, and opening our minds to that curiosity. I cleanse the windows of my mind, that it may become a mirror reflecting inspiration from the Most High. I do this not with strenuous effort, but through quiet contemplation, through gently reaching and affirming an inward recognition. Today, I walk in the pathway of inspiration. I know exactly what to do in every situation. There is an inspiration within me which governs every act, every thought, with certainty, with conviction, and in peace. The key that unlocks the treasures of the kingdom of good is in my hand. I unlock the doorway of my consciousness and gently open it that the divine presence may flood my whole being with light. Illumine my being with its radiant glow and direct my footsteps into the pathway of peace and joy. And this was from our founder, Ernest Holmes. And Joan Chittister wrote this: life is a metaphoric journey, like how an idea becomes a song, a seed becomes a flower, how an oyster creates a pearl, a match becomes a flame. We will someday come to a new kind of life, eternal in spirit and changed in form. And how can we be so sure of that? Because God has planted the proof all around us. If only we could see. It is, as a matter of fact, metamorphosis, change into otherness that is the very nature of life. And thank you.
We would like to invite you to, you'll get the words to this the first time, practically. You hear it. So this is about being ready to receive.
These These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive all the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace? Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive love? Are you ready? Joy, are you ready? Peace, are you ready? Are you ready to receive? These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive all the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace? Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive compassion? I am ready. Forgiveness, I am ready. Laughter, I am ready. I am ready to receive. These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, I am ready to receive all the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, I am ready to receive. Passion, I am ready. Success, I am ready. Abundance, I am ready. I am ready to receive. These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, I am ready to receive all the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, I am ready to receive. These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, I am ready to receive. The gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive?
Thank you so much. Gifts of the goddess, I love your choice. Thank you. So, good morning again. So I'm Reverend Stephanie Clark, and I don't know if you know this, because it all happened very quickly, but I'm the new staff minister here at CSL Rogue Valley. Yeah, thank you. So Kimberly and I signed the contracts in mid-January, and then I went away on vacation, and then Kimberly went away on her sabbatical, so it's been a while, but I'm just so happy to be here. I'm so privileged to be with you this morning. So this is my maiden voyage with you. And before I go any further, I need to address the elephant in the room. What's the elephant? It's my accent. So our talk today is about curiosity and about irritation. So what I've noticed when I speak in America is that people are trying to figure out my accent. They get really curious about where I come from, and then they can't really hear what I'm saying because they're trying to figure it out, and it's not a classic standard accent at all. So I was born in Britain. Most of you can hear that. I was born in London. I immigrated to South Africa when I was 27. So it's a mixture of British and South African. But in between, I lived in Amsterdam in Holland when I was 18, and I was desperately trying to be a hippie. And I was hanging out with a lot of Australians. So I've got a bit of Australian in there as well. So now you know. You know the whole story. You don't have to wonder about it. So who was here when my husband Jim Hatton and I spoke on May the 1st? Oh, great. So there are quite a few of you. So I just mentioned that because I'm going to be talking a little bit about him later in my talk today, and I'm just curious to know who was here then. All right. So as I mentioned, our CSL monthly theme is Curiosity is Your Superpower, and the topic for today is The World is an Oyster. And you may have noticed that I chose a different topic. I chose the topic, irritation, God's hot invitation. And we all get irritated. We all get irritated. Who does not get irritated? Nobody. We get irritated by people, places, and things. We get irritated by everything. I heard someone say over there he's not irritated, but I don't believe you. I don't believe you. So the promise today, or the intention today, is to discover together how we can transform that irritation into the pearl, how we can move from a state of irritation and get the blessing out of it, get the transformation out of it, and get the rewards out of it. So we don't want to live constantly in a state of irritation. We want to transform it spiritually. So that's what we're up to today. And I want you to expect that you're going to get the pearl, that something that irritates you currently is going to turn into a blessing, something you're grateful for, or something you appreciate. And I know some of you right now might be sitting next to a person who you don't think you're going to get to that point of being appreciative and grateful and seeing that person as a blessing. If you're married to someone in the audience here, you're sitting next to them, you might not think you're going to get there. But I would like you to keep your consciousness open and available for a possibility. Are you willing to do that? Yeah. Good, thank you. So first I'm going to start with a little corny joke. Are you ready for my corny joke? All right. Why were A, E, I, O, and U so annoyed? They had irritable bowel syndrome. How corny is that? It's really corny. Okay, I'm sorry. It improves from here. So the title again from CSL was "The World is an Oyster." So how does an oyster create a pearl? I didn't know. I was quite curious. I looked it up. So apparently the oyster has an outer shell and it has an inner mantle. It's like a skin. And when a foreign substance gets in between that inner mantle and the shell, it's an irritant to the oyster, and the oyster tries to protect itself from the irritation. So what it does, it covers that piece of sand or the foreign substance with a substance called nacre, N-A-C-R-E, nacre. Never heard of it before. But the nacre creates layers around the sand, and that becomes the pearl. So the older the oyster is, the more chance that the pearl will be there for a start when the oyster's opened up, and the more chance that the pearl will be bigger because it will have had years of this layering of nacre around the piece of sand to protect itself. So the pearl is extremely valuable, and that's what I want for us today, to uncover the extremely valuable essence within ourselves. So as I said, people, places, and things trigger us, and I've got a list here, and I'm keen to know which ones you identify with. So a list of common annoyances. Basically, things aren't going my way. First one, Mondays. Mondays for some people, yeah. For ministers, it's usually their day off, if they get a day off at all. So Mondays aren't bad for ministers, but for most people, Mondays, yeah, they don't like it. Another irritation, meeting the man or woman of your dreams at your wedding reception. Realizing that the free drinks at the blackjack table weren't free after losing $500. And when you buy something from the vending machine and you don't get your change. Okay, who's ever kicked a vending machine? We get irritated by that. Trying to spread frozen butter on fresh bread. Doesn't work. This is my big irritation. I'm watching a YouTube video. What happens? Advertisements. Now, YouTube is free, but I still get annoyed at the advertisements. Preachers who request donations in exchange for salvation. That doesn't really happen here so much. It doesn't happen at all. And people who we judge as slow or stupid, but there's a way around that. There's a nice way to tell them. What you say to them is, wisdom has been chasing you, but you've always been faster. And when you're running short of money, what's really irritating is every ATM you go to, there's a message saying insufficient funds. Obviously, the ATM is broken. That's really irritating. So what happens when we get irritated? Well, it affects us in many ways. It affects our health, it affects our financial life, and it affects our relationship. So that irritation, that out of alignmentness, that being not in touch with our source, affects us in many ways, and if we don't take care of it, it gets worse and worse and worse. So you know what it's like when you have an irritation in your body, so you have some inflammation, maybe some pain. If you don't take care of it, it gets worse and worse, and you're likely to then stop moving, because when you move, it hurts, and when you stop moving and you become very restricted in your movement, the pain actually gets worse. It doesn't get any better. If you're having an issue with money, a sense of not enough, if you don't take care of it spiritually, and you continue to observe that you don't have enough, it gets worse and worse and worse. So then you might start borrowing from credit cards, and then you have more interest to pay back. So you see, if you don't take care of the irritation in its infancy, it's going to get extreme, it's going to become expanded and worse for you. And then relationships suffer, of course. If you're irritated with the person you're with, or irritated with people in general, or irritated with politicians, or irritated with the IRS, whatever you're irritated with, it means you're out of alignment, and it affects all your relationships. So you might be really irritated with one particular person, but then everybody is affected because you're not in alignment with yourself. So we've tried lots of different things to try and fix the irritation, but the solutions we've tried usually don't work because the irritation is on the outside, and the irritation is really on the inside. And if you and I try to fix it on the outside, it's hopeless. It doesn't work. So the work is to go within. So I've got some steps that I've worked on that I think are helpful, and I'd like to share them with you. Step number one is irritation is God's hot irritation. So that's the title of my talk. Irritation is God's hot irritation. So when you notice the irritation, that's your moment. So instead of trying to control people, places, and things, you say, oh, this is what Reverend Stephanie was talking about. I'm aware I've got some irritation going on. So that's your clue. You feel anxious, you feel irritated. That's your clue that there's something inner that needs to be looked at. I want to share a story about my boss in LA and his wife. They were people who taught win-win communication and conflict resolution in businesses, and they actually did some conflict resolution for United Church of Religious Science as well. That was the old name for CSL. So they would practice the win-win conflict resolution in their own marriage, not only teach it outside in businesses, but practice it too. And so what they did was they had an agreement, and when they noticed that either one of them was irritated with the other, or that it had gone beyond irritation and was developing into a full-scale conflict, the one who became aware of that would say, stop, time out. And then they would agree on a timeout of 10 or 15 minutes, and they would go to separate rooms, and they would each reflect on their part in the conflict. So maybe one of them was noticing that a childhood fear was coming up. Maybe the other one was noticing that they were feeling afraid that the other might leave. So when they would come back together after the agreed upon time, they would share their fears and share their wounds and share their pain. And then the other would give compassion and empathy for that. And through doing that process together, every conflict turned into greater love and intimacy. And that was their commitment in their marriage, that no stone would be left unturned. Any slight conflict would be an opportunity for a win-win conflict resolution session. And one weekend, I came to work on Monday, and they told me about a conflict resolution that they had done the previous weekend. And after that session, they had gone to Starbucks to get some coffee, and there was a woman sitting next to them at the counter at Starbucks, and she said, I have to ask you two, are you newlyweds? And they said, no, we've been married 17 years. And they were so in love and so engaged and so alive with each other that seemed like their relationship was brand new. So that's how they dealt with it. They became aware, and becoming aware is the first step. You can't change it if you're not aware of it. So step number 2 would be to ask, to go inside and ask, could this irritation be my creation? Might this irritation be something that I've created? So taking the attention off the outside world and looking within. So how do I create irritation in myself? Well, I have old beliefs, I have judgments about reality, I have projections, I have unmet needs, I have trauma from the past that I haven't become conscious of yet. So I've got all of that going on inside, which is projecting itself out as irritation on the outside. So I want to share another story about one of my teachers that I'm working with currently. His name's Tom Bond, and he runs an organization called NYC NVC. So that's New York City Nonviolent Communication. Has any one of you here heard of Marshall Rosenberg and the nonviolent communication process? Oh, fantastic. Okay, so I studied with Marshall Rosenberg a long time ago in California, had the privilege of a 10-day residential retreat with him, completely life-changing. So his process, very briefly, is to get in touch with your feelings and your needs, and then be able to make requests to have those needs met. So one of his star students, Tom Bond, the man that I'm currently studying with, he started the NYC NVC, and he was sharing a story recently about how he would consistently get stuck in traffic on his way to work. Now, in Medford, people don't really know about traffic. But if you've lived in LA, that's my experience anyway. Maybe for you in Medford, 20 minutes in the rush hour is intense. But for me, it's a breeze, because I lived in LA for 10 years, and I know what it's like to be stuck in traffic. So he's in New York, and he used to get really irritated not being able to get to work in a timely way, and having really, being stuck in one lane, can't move, can't do anything about the situation. So he felt powerless. And after a while of becoming irritated with it all, he decided to look within. So he looked within, and he asked himself, so what's going on here? And he realized he had a judgment, and the negative judgment was, this shouldn't be happening to me. I'm special. No, the world should really orientate itself around me and my needs. So that's the ego. None of you have that going on. And then he went a bit deeper to what is the unmet need here. And some of the unmet needs were efficiency. He wanted to get to work in a timely way to perform his job. Another unmet need was autonomy. He wanted choices. He felt he had no choices in the car when he was stuck in traffic. So he began to look at, well, now I'm in touch with those unmet needs. In nonviolent communication, we say once you've got in touch with the unmet need, you can have 10,000 strategies for getting that need met. So he saw how can I get that need met? So what he started to do was, in the car, he would work on his phone, and he would send emails and send texts, reply to people. So he was actually working in the car. And the need for choice, he realized he had a choice about his attitude. He didn't have to be irritated. He didn't have to be angry. He could appreciate that he had a car. He could appreciate that he had a job. He could appreciate that he had a phone that he could do his work on. So you see, getting in touch with that unmet need was the turning point for him. The other thing we can do, the third step, so first step is irritation is God's hot invitation to be aware, just to be aware. Second step is, could this irritation be my creation? And that's when we go within and look to see what we're doing or thinking or believing or feeling that's creating the situation or circumstance. Last step is to pray for divine right action and to ask yourself, what would a divine, loving adult do now? That's the question. What would a divine, loving adult do now? So the story that I want to tell about this is recently my husband Jim and I were in Maui on vacation, and I started to notice that he was getting very weak. We both got sick on vacation, which wasn't fun, but oh well. You know, getting sick in paradise isn't that bad, really. But towards the end of the second week, I noticed that he was really not doing well at all. He was very weak, he was sleeping a lot, he wasn't eating very much at all, he was really undernourished. And we got home, and he took Monday, so we got home Sunday, he took Monday off, and then Tuesday, he got up as if he was going to go to work. And I had my training session on Zoom that morning, and I came out of it at 6:30, and there he was dressed and ready for work. And I went back into the office, because I knew he wasn't going to leave right away, and then suddenly I hear this sound of throwing up. And I went out to see what was going on, and he told me that he'd had really bad cramps, and he'd taken some potassium in order to be able to get relief from the cramps. So I was massaging him and trying to help him with the cramps, and then I suggested that rather he should maybe go into the bedroom, and we could keep him warm and put a heating pad on him so that he would not be cramping so much. And so he did that, and he was really moaning in agony, and I didn't know what to do, and I felt like he was dying. And I should say to you that, before I carry on, that Jim and I met in 2019 in the Great Pyramid. And yeah, I mean, when you meet someone, when you meet the love of your life in the Great Pyramid, you got a clue that it's a relationship of destiny. But ladies, you know how we are. We get together with a man, and we think, oh, he's got potential, I can change him. And guys are more honest in that regard. When guys choose a woman to be with, or when a masculine partner chooses a more feminine partner to be with, I don't want to exclude LGBTQ, sorry. So typically a masculine partner will say, this is my goddess, this is my one, I forsake all others. So when a woman says to a man, well, do you love me? And the man says, of course I do, I married you, didn't I? I mean, that's not what a woman wants to hear, but what the man is saying is, I shut the door to every other woman on the planet for you. That's love. That's love. So anyway, so Jim holds me as his goddess, and I saw him as a man with potential. So there was some irritation along the way. And so it's not quite working the way I want it to work. Meanwhile, I know this is a relationship of cosmic destiny, but I get irritated. I'm human, I get irritated. So there were many irritations, and until this moment. So I'm going to tell you what happened with the rest of the story here. So then Jim's in bed, he's really moaning in agony, and I said, I think I need to call the doctor. And he said, no, I'll be all right. I just need to rest, just need to get rid of the cramps. And I'm going, this is spiritual bypassing. I was so irritated with him for spiritual bypassing. And I knew something was really wrong. So I said, where's your phone? I'm going to call the doctor. And he actually told me where his phone was, and he said where the doctor's number was listed. Don't ever call the doctor if it's an emergency. This is an online video doctor. If you need to speak to the doctor, set your appointment here. There was a list of all the things I needed to do online to make an appointment with the doctor at some future point. Useless. I was so irritated. I was more than irritated, I was completely panicked because I was expecting to be able to call the doctor and find out what to do with my husband. So at that point, I said, Jim, I'm going to call 911. And he surrendered. I think he knew at that point that it was really an emergency. So I called 911, and Jim was meanwhile trying to get out of bed to put his feet on the ground so he could get relief from the cramps in his calves. And he fell as I was calling 911. And I gave the address, and the 911 operator said, well, I'm sending the fire truck and the ambulance right away. And then Jim somehow hauled himself up onto the couch because he thought he'd be more comfortable there. And at that moment, the operator was about to say, the ambulance is on its way, it's about a mile away from your house. And she was about to hang up. And at that moment, I'll never forget this as long as I live. So Jim just went like that. And his eyes were glassy. And he couldn't hear me. And I felt his heart, and it had stopped. And he wasn't breathing. And the operator, thank God she was still there, she said, "Can you get your husband on the floor? It'll be better if you can get him on the floor for when the ambulance comes." And I said, "I think he's dead. He can't hear me. I think he's dead." And she said, "Try to get him on the floor." And I go, well, maybe she knew that possibly he wasn't dead, but anyway, it seemed like she wasn't listening to me. And I kept shouting. It was useless, but I kept, "Jim, come back, come back, come back." And in that moment, all I wanted was for him to live. Nothing else mattered. Like all my petty irritations, all of the resentment, all of that crap that goes on in the human brain, it just didn't matter a bit. I just wanted him to live. And then he started breathing again. It's just a miracle. He just started breathing. And I don't know how long he was out. Time stood still. I have no concept of how long he was not here with us. And I said to him, "Okay, you need to get on the floor for when the ambulance arrives." And he just did that. And he was still in horrible, horrible pain. And the ambulance came and got him to hospital. And then I followed a few minutes later in my car. And I kissed him goodbye in the ambulance because he was a lot better after the ambulance staff had dealt with him. I guess having people around who were medically trained, they knew what they were doing, and he seemed a bit brighter, but I didn't know if he was going to make it to the hospital in the ambulance. Sometimes people die in the ambulance on the way. So I went in and I kissed him goodbye and just prayed that he would make it to the hospital. And he did, and when I arrived, he was sitting up and he had saline solution in a drip, and starting to get better. And it turned out he was massively dehydrated, that he had lost all the electrolytes from his system when he was ill, when he had a stomach flu. So that we were 5 hours in the hospital, but really he started to come around after the first couple of hours, and he was fine. And he's fine now, and he doesn't want you calling him to ask him how he is. And I know some of you know Jim from way back, because he was an assistant minister here for many years, so I know you care about him deeply, but please, no phone calls. So I got over my irritation. It had to be really drastic for me, apparently. I had to be on the point of thinking that I was going to lose my husband, for me to just be able to get free of all of the chatter in my head that's saying, "This isn't okay, that's not okay, I have to change this, I have to change that, I'm going to work on that, and I'm going to fix that, and we're going to make this happen the way I want it, the way all of that, complete rubbish. And I got free. So now when I start to get irritated, I remember, oh, this is the person that I nearly lost, and how valuable is it exactly to stay in an irritated state? It's not. And it helped me realize, too, you just don't know how long you've got. You don't know how long you've got. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot to tell you. In the last night in Hawaii, there was a singer below our balcony. He was entertaining the tourists at the resort. And he was singing a song by John Legend called, "I'm Gonna Love You Like I'm Gonna Lose You." And that song was playing itself in my mind from the Friday of the last night of our vacation up until that Tuesday. And it was a precursor, it was like a warning. You've got to love as if you're going to lose. And that makes you really appreciate and bless and give thanks for that person. Oh, I'm done. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
So we're going to pray. Oh, you're going to sing first and then I'm going to pray? How does it?
Go ahead.
I forgot to consult my notes.
You should pray.
I should pray first?
You should pray.
Okay, that's a good idea. Never a bad idea to pray. All right, let's do a prayer together. Just taking a moment now to become still and to turn aside from everything that's been taking place here this morning. Everything we've heard, everything we've felt, everything we've been thinking about that is completely unrelated to what's going on in this sacred space. Just turning aside from the past and all the baggage of the past and all the irritations of the past. And we're moving our attention to the Spirit. We're deliberately, consciously choosing now to focus our attention inwards. We're going deep now, and knowing that there's only one power, one life, one presence. Some people call that God. Some people call that divine mind, Holy Spirit, Mother, Father, God, Goddess, Great Creator. The one mind is infinite intelligence, infinite love, infinite peace. It's everywhere present. There is no place, no spot where it is not. It is the all in all, and it is the very life force that fills me now and fills every single soul in the sanctuary this morning. It is the power and presence that breathes our lungs, and it thinks our minds, and it moves the limbs of our bodies. It is the power and presence that sustains us and maintains us, upholds us, accompanies us, infills us, nurtures us. It is all needs met. It is the all-sufficiency. It is the abundance, the wholeness, the well-being. And we can never be separated from that, and it can never be separated from us. There is an eternal oneness. And I know we are united together as spiritual beings, living, moving, having our being in a spiritual universe. We are here on the journey of cosmic consciousness. We are here to be instruments of love, to be instruments of peace, to be the instruments of well-being. We are here to serve, to expand, to grow, to live and love, and to know true liberation. And I speak the word for this beloved community, knowing that each one here is blessed and ever blessed. Each one here is a magnificent, magnificent expression of the divine. Each one here is filled full with talents and abilities, some of which have already been uncovered, and some of which are still waiting to be uncovered. Each one here is infinitely creative. There is no limit, there is no restriction, there is no block, there is no obstacle. Each one here is the beloved son or daughter of the Creator, made in the image and likeness of creativity. And each beloved soul in this space is a very instrument of abundance, prosperity, divine, inexhaustible supply. Each one here is the conduit through and as which the lavish generosity of this universe gets to express itself. An open heart of giving, an open heart of serving, an open heart of contribution. Each one here is fulfilling the purpose for which they were sent. So where there appears to be any lack or limitation, declaring that that is now neutralized and dissolved back into the nothingness from whence it came. Where there appears to be any fear, concern, or irritation around finances, around material resources, all of that is dissolving right now. It cannot sustain itself because it's a lie. And where there is any seeming disturbance or physical pain or suffering or irritation in the body temple, knowing here too that every single cell of the body is a cell of light, it's a cell of life, it's a cell of infinite vitality and power. So every single cell of the body temple is functioning in accordance with divine intelligence. Every single cell knows what to do. So anything that would appear to be a blockage or a toxic mass, whatever, it's all now being loosed and dissolved and released. For the body knows exactly how to release that which no longer serves. So wholeness is being restored here. Wholeness is being expressed here in fullness. And where there is any conflict or irritation in relationship, where there is any breakdown or argument or disagreement or judgment or any kind of separation or otherness, all of that is being healed. All of that is being dissolved and disintegrated. Knowing right now that each one here is the open heart of love. Each one here is the open heart of acceptance, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, trust. Each one here is the very beloved of God, sent here to love, sent here to be God in action, to be the eyes and ears and mouthpiece and hands and feet of the divine. Each one here is already on the path of fulfillment of the reason for which they came, on the path of loving unconditionally. And I bless this beloved community, CSL Rogue Valley, and all of the communities in the CSL organization worldwide, and knowing that we are all one, we are all together on this journey, we are moving forward and we are making a difference. Declaring that the evolutionary leap is taking place here and now because of us agreeing to be here today. How grateful I am that the work has been done in consciousness. How grateful I am that everything is unfolding itself in exactly the way that it must, in a perfect, orchestrated pattern. How grateful I am for more and more good revealing itself in our lives, in our minds, our bodies, and the bodies of our affairs. And I give thanks now and release the word. I know the work is done in consciousness. I simply let it be, and so it is. Amen. Thank you.
Light the candle, illuminate your heart. Don't be afraid of the dark. Along with winter comes the sound of snowfall, resting heavy upon our souls. Ring out the old, bring in the new. Bless and release what you have to, with love, with hope, with love. There above us, a brilliant evening sky. Let spirit fly with the constellations. Lift up our voices in prayerful harmony. Join together in the jubilation. Ring out the old, bring in the new. Bless and release what you have to, with love, with hope, with love. With love. Love. Oh, it's love. It's love. Ring out the old, bring in the new. Bless and release what you have to, with love, with hope, with love. Light the candle, illuminate your heart.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren and Alexa. You picked the perfect songs today. Did you notice that? All the songs were completely perfect. Thank you so much. So I'd like to invite our people who do the offering to come up, our ushers. And please, can you prepare your gift? So you have envelopes in front of you. I think some of the envelopes are marked for CSL and some of them are marked for Unity. So you can put your offering in the envelope or just put it directly in the basket. And so before we give our gifts, we're going to say an affirmation together. So please repeat after me. Graciously I give.
Graciously I give.
From a place of love.
From a place of love.
Knowing that as I give.
Knowing that as I give.
So do I richly receive.
So do I richly receive.
Thank you.
It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. It's in every one of us. Oh, okay. Be wise. Find your heart. Open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by.
Thank you. Beautiful. So I have a few announcements. Firstly, our practitioner, Karen Jordan. She's right there. You can put your hand up if you want so people can see you. Karen Jordan's workshop is coming up. It's called Your Personal Sacred Mandala Class, and it starts Thursday afternoon, March the 2nd at 1 o'clock. So you can sign up here in the Bosworth Hall after our service if you'd like to participate, and talk to Karen if you want to get more information. So I want to just put attention on the live stream crew. They are here every Sunday making sure they are such a wonderful, dedicated group of souls, and they make sure that the live stream happens and that people around the world can see it, including people who maybe can't get to church on a Sunday morning who are local. So it's a fabulous service, and they're looking for openings, and they will train you as well. So if you're interested in learning how to do sound and visuals, free training with the live stream crew, it's something really worth getting into and being able to contribute to your community that way. We've also got openings on the marketing team. So if you're interested in learning more, please sign up in the social hall or speak with Bill Miner. Bill's on the live stream crew, and Shannon Schnibber at the after service. So they'll be here, and there are sign-up sheets on the table just as you go in through the door to the right. And please be sure to check our newsletter and meetup group for events happening during the week for both Unity and CSL. And I have an announcement that nobody knows about yet, something special. Has anyone here heard of Jamie Lula? Yeah, he's actually been to Medford and he's sung here before. So Jamie was studied at Agape, where I also studied, and he was in Foundations when I was a teaching assistant. So Jamie was in my pod in Foundations, and that was in 1994. We go back a long way. And Jamie is going to be coming to this area in March, and he has offered to do a concert for us. Is that cool or is that cool? Oh. So we're still confirming the date, but I know it's going to be second to last week of March. So it's about a month away. So I'm telling you now just to get you aware, but then we'll put out the information as soon as possible with regard to how you book your tickets and that kind of thing. So it's just lovely that Jamie's going to be here. It's just wonderful. I'm so excited about that. Please sign up for our newsletter here in the social hall or on the Facebook page. And the email is cslroguevalley@gmail.com. We have a prayer box at the back of the sanctuary, and our practitioners and ministers will pray for you. So you can just fill out the little card there with your prayer request, and for the next week, our practitioners and ministers will be in prayer about your prayer request. And also on the website, you can submit a prayer request, and practitioner Kim Bibbo here will take that on, and she'll make sure everybody gets to read it and start the prayer work. So I'm going to do a benediction. I'd like to invite the practitioners to come up first. So the practitioners, for those of you who are new or new-ish to the community, they've studied for at least 4 years, some of them longer, and they are spiritual counselors, and you can pray with them after the service. If you want to, you can approach any one of them and ask them to give you a prayer, and you can also work with them privately. So you can ask them about their fees and do private work with them if you want to shift or change a circumstance in your life. So wonderful souls, and please take advantage of them. All right. What else? I think I've done it. Anything else I need to say? Anyone who's... No? Well, we covered it? Okay. All right. If Wendy says we've covered it, we have. She's logistics queen. She's wonderful. All right, so then let's have our closing song.